How's the stash?
Glorious.
That's what I'm talking about.
This is Stash Cast. Let's go.
So work that waiver wire, make those trades. Do what you got to do. Let's go. Don't be a quitter. Don't be a quitter.
Come on. Do you even want to win?
Jared's like, I'm going to drink a beer a hole, and then does.
Now you get to date your favorite color.
Played the School of the Blind 3
You
times.
played nobody.
All girls
You're
school. Way to go.
You're playing nobody.
So they got 11 guys that want to kick your ass too.
Nia Long, man. Nia
That was
freaking
like-
Long.
It has been
Did he feel it?
uphill both ways through shit creek.
I'll be naked, passed out somewhere on the floor. Hopefully it's just my own room.
Their offense is great. Their defense makes me want to shit down both legs.
I'm not playing for the next 2 hours. Bring me some chicken.
He's not superstitious, but that sumbitch is a little stitious. I'll tell you that. There ain't no doubt about it.
Stash Cast, baby.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Stash Cast presented by Nashville Stash from downtown Nashville, Tennessee. Stash Cast is sponsored this week by FinTech Payment Processing. Unlock your payments potential with FinTech Payments. I am Nick Mars, and I am absolutely stoked about today's show, y'all. We got spring training report from the Cleveland Guardians facility in Goodyear, Arizona with JJ, and he brought along a guest to join the show for a bit in the first half, and then shower thoughts, college basketball, college baseball opening weekend, XFL, NBA All-Star Weekend, and then an update from the Genesis Open from our boy Alex in the second half. We got a lot of stuff to go over today, and I'm so excited about it. Speaking of Alex, joining us from Los Angeles, California, Alex Alper. To my right, as always, the beautiful K Love. Unfortunately, Tweeter had a conflict and couldn't join us tonight, so he will be missed. Tweeter, love you, buddy. And as I mentioned a second ago, coming to us from Goodyear, Arizona, and the spring training facility of the Cleveland Guardians, it is the director of team travel, Jared Jones. JJ, good to see you. We'll get into your rise, your meteoric rise from the ranks of college by way of the NFL all the way to the big show. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I can't wait for the spring training report because we got a lot of questions. But before that, we have a special guest in the house today, y'all. Cleveland Guardian, VandyBoy, Nashvilleian, aspiring scratch golfer, and a damn good beard if I can see it. Just this is a little dark, but Mason Hickman is with us, you guys. Everybody give Mason a round of applause.
All right,
Mason Hickman, let's go.
I'm glad you got
Mason,
to take a look
first
at
of
the
all, thanks
Instagram
a lot for
bio
taking
there.
a few minutes to hang with us. I'm not sure what JJ had to do to talk you into hanging with us for a bit, but we're stoked to have you here, man. How are you, big guy?
I'm doing great. First of all, that was one hell of an intro. I enjoyed every minute of that.
Absolutely. Only the best, right?
Yeah. I mean, the way JJ wrote me on is, he's big time in the show. And when he asks you to do something, you just, anything you can to please the guy.
Well, that's nice.
Just like this show. He won me some money, and we went and played golf against our pitching coordinator. And I was like, hey, Mace, I'm going to have a lot of fun and drink a lot of beer. I don't know if we're going to win. And I think in 18 holes, Mace, what I do, I think I contribute a putt. Just got a chance to putt before you.
A putt, a few Trulies, maybe a couple White Claws sprinkled in there too.
That's funny.
Never more true statement. Yeah, I was just along for the ride on that one. It was myself, Mace, and one of our outfielders in the major league, Will Brennan from Kansas State. And between Will and I, we were just in charge of drinking the booze and letting Mace do his thing because the other foursome was not touching what he was putting out there.
Well, I got a lot of questions for you, but first of all, Mason, tell me about you Nashville guy. So went to Vandy and played for Coach Corbin, who we love here on the show. What was your fondest memory of playing at Vandy?
I mean, I'm gonna stay away from the stereotypical national championship win because that's the easy answer. I think it really was just all the early morning days that were delirious in the clubhouse, and we're just sitting there for an hour before the game time, and God knows what's going on, but we're just having a good time, I mean, those are the moments that you probably miss more than anything and that you'll remember forever.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. We didn't get an opportunity to play for a national championship. I played at MTSU, so we didn't get an opportunity to play on the big stage like you guys. But I can definitely agree with the fact that it is the camaraderie and being with your guys and having those moments together that you'll never forget, because you could see those guys 5 years, 10 years down the road, and you're gonna immediately reconnect and you're gonna go right back to those moments, and those are special things, man.
Yeah, I mean, we had the pleasure of having a lot of my former teammates in the fall league this year, and it was amazing to see those guys. Still, just see that the relationship is still there. You know, shooting the shit and just going back to the glory days of all the stories we had. It's a great time.
So who all was on that team? Remind me who all was on that team. JJ, you probably
on the 2019 team. Yeah. So we had. I'm trying to think of the lineup. We had Austin Martin, JJ Bidet, Ethan Paul, Steven Scott, Philip Clark, Julian Infante. I feel like I'm forgetting a position
Jason
player
DeLay
here.
left in 18 or 19.
Yeah, he was before that.
Yeah.
DeLay left in 17, I think, because I never played with him. Ty Duvall, Pat DeMarco, and that was kind of like the big core pieces, at least on the position player side. Had Kumar Rockers freshman year there.
Was Kinger still around? Zach King?
Yeah, Kinger was in the pen that year.
Some love. Another Nashville guy. Good dude. Marlins org, fall league guy.
All right. So how early did Corp start recruiting you?
They weren't.
I've heard he starts recruiting dudes in like the 8th grade, bro.
Yeah, in hindsight now, it seems like I'm pretty late considering all these 8th graders that are committing to huge Power 5 D1s, which is just a wild thing in and of itself. It was probably I think it was after my sophomore spring season in high school, heading into that summer, that I first started being in contact with them and having some communication.
Gotcha.
And then committed probably in that summer as well.
Well, there you go. I mean, get it done. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. When Corp comes knocking, it's kind of hard to say no to that program.
The funny thing was I wanted to get away from home. I wanted to get away from the parents, be on my own for a little bit, and then went on my visit and met the coaching staff. I was like, why the hell would I want to go anywhere else?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a cool thing to say, an acclimate, an accolade for them to say that even that their program is so strong that even the hometown guys that want to get away choose not to. But that's good stuff, man. You had a hell of a year last year. You started out in where? You started out in high A, ended up in AA Akron. That's
so started off the year in high A as a starter, made the transition about halfway through the year to the bullpen, still in high A in Lake County. Kind of had a phenomenal stint there, got moved up to Akron, and then ended up throwing in the fall league as well.
What was the Akron mascot? I love nothing more than minor league baseball.
Rubber duckies.
Rubber ducks. It's one of the best in minor league baseball, I think. It's so good.
Rubber Ducks.
I'm a professional baseball player. Oh, who do you play for? The Rubber Duckies.
The Rubber Ducks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We're badass. That's right, no doubt.
Their Sunday uni is it's actual like a yellow rubber duck is their logo for that day, and it's awesome. It's a royal blue hat with a yellow rubber duck on it. It's one of my favorite I've ever had.
That's beautiful, man.
So good.
So tell me, here's a story that I want to hear. Tell me about the first time meeting JJ. What was that? What was that experience like? Was it back when he was still working in the Goodyear facility full time?
I think that was kind of like your transition period a little bit. You're still technically the Goodyear guy at that point, but it was that COVID year. So you'd been with the big league club for the whole time. So you're starting to move over. So I think I met you randomly in the facility one day, had a little chit chat. And then the first time that we really met was on the golf course that day.
I was so hoping you would have said at Romans one night. You just met, you met across the dance floor on karaoke night and had just this
we locked
magic
eyes.
moment.
I was I know you.
I know you.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of guys that happen to run into me at Romans, and I'm typically not.
That was the funnest though. They would see him and boom, beeline. They were like, nope, JJ's here. We got to go.
Yeah,
that first real day was on the course, though. I think when you're like, "Hey, man, I'm not here to really help you out in any capacity. I'm here to have a couple drinks and have a good time." And that's what you did. You
per hole, yeah.
But that's what you need. You need a glue guy. You needed the conversation starter, and he brought that. That's what we needed for that day.
Awesome.
That's what I'm always there to provide. I will open up any golf round with that. Hey, man, I'm going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to make sure you have a lot of fun, but I'm not going to do dick shit on the golf course. And
that golf swing's a conversation starter. I'll tell you what.
Oh, yeah.
I remember we got on the first tee and Mace looked at me because I'm obviously, Nick, as you know, facing completely to the right.
45,
Like,
45
hey,
degree angle. Yeah.
The hole's over there, and you're like, just wait. And I absolutely hit this thing into Hell's Half Acre, and it has this awful 90-degree bend. Somehow ends up on the left side of the fairway, and you're like, I don't know how it's possible. That's what
it happens.
So we're here.
What's your favorite course
those...
out there in the desert?
So
Victory.
So I've taken a few golf trips out here in the off season and done the whole like real Scottsdale spend the money golf out there, and there are so many good places. Played TPC Scottsdale like a month and some change before the Waste Management one year, when it was just in its purest form, most of the grandstands completely up, and that was a treat. But Troon North's up there too. It just has a lot of scenic shots. It's beautiful out there. I mean, there's just so much good golf out here. It's kind of sickening, honestly.
So what's your handicap these days, Mace?
It is a 3.8 as of this morning.
He's a good golfer. He's a take your money golfer. He's a take your money and not even think twice about it golfer. Where do you play? Where do you play when you play in Nashville?
Per hole. That's crazy.
Yeah. So my parents rejoined a club that we used to be members at when I was a kid, Bluegrass in Hendersonville. And then so I'll play there a lot, obviously, just getting a little money games there. Yeah. And then go out to Legends with a couple of buddies that played baseball, because we still kind of got a hookup out there.
Right.
And I honestly just bounce around. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, next time you're in town, you come play with me at Governor's Club and we'll have a good time. Open invitation. You guys come hang when you're in town. We'll go whack it whenever you want to.
Absolutely. I'm in.
But let's transition kind of quickly while I got you, because we're not going to keep you too long today. Before JJ gets balling in on the spring training report, what's the we've been talking about the new rules that kind of came out of the winter meetings, and they kind of affect the minor league guys a little bit more like immediately right now with some of these changes. So my question, I guess, for being a pitcher, which one's going to be the most difficult to adjust to, like right out of the gate?
So we always get the pleasure of being the test dummies before the big leaguers get the privilege of, having the new rules. So the hardest one was, it's definitely the pickoffs. I mean, if you have a guy that's a real base stealing threat over there and has any bit of head about him, he'll just get a massive one-way lead and try to use your pickoffs and basically burn him so he has a green light. The pitch clock sucks, and it is what it is, but it's avoidable, and there's some ways to work around that, and you just got to kind of quicken up your routine. It's really not awful. It's more of an adjustment thing than anything, but the pickoffs kind of screws you.
Yeah, the pickoff thing was the one I was the most curious about, because I'm like, okay, wait a second. If I can only pick twice, right? Is it twice or is it three times? It's twice, right? Pick twice. Okay. So you can pick twice. Yeah, and then twice. What? Then he can go like as soon as you come set. Yeah.
If you don't get him out, it's a balk. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to get him out. So that's a little caveat. As in, you can risk it and try to pick off, but if he just ends up back at first base, he's getting second.
Wow.
It's essentially 1-3 pick. The second one, you gotta get him out.
Yeah.
All right. So how does the pitch clock affected when the batter is are we going to have an in the box rule with the penalty? Are you going to? So you got to stay in the box the whole time.
Last year, I don't know if they made any changes, but at least for the minor league, it was the batter had to be in the box and ready to hit at 9 seconds. But it seems super one-sided. Like there's a lot of times where the umpire was a lot more lenient towards the hitter, and seemed like they valued the strike way higher than giving the ball to the pitcher. I mean, there was definitely way more ball calls than strike calls. So it seemed a little one-sided, and hopefully they can kind of put an emphasis on correcting that this year.
Mace, I got a question for you. So something we've been talking about a shit ton in the major league staff conference room. It's the 20-second tempo, especially as a starter or even a reliever. You have a 3-batter minimum. If you're having a long inning, so we go out there, you do a sim inning, you're 15 pitches. If you're like 20, 30 pitches because the bases are jammed, the game's going to speed up and you're quick. How did you avoid, I guess, running out of gas, running out of breath, buy yourself some time?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to burn a visit. Like even if it's just, hey, we kind of in a jam here, let's make sure we're on the same page, and just buy yourself some time, and also talk to your catcher about how you kind of want to attack and execute. The biggest thing is like just not taking the ball from the infielder. Like just let them sit with it, because it's not going to start until it's in your hands again.
Smart.
Just play dumb and
it's-
avoid getting the baseball.
What if you can't go
Right.
to the rosin bag anymore? What if you have to clear your cleats? Does that? It's all counted in that damn 20 seconds.
Yep. It's
Jesus,
crazy, right?
is
We
that
were talking
also
about, like,
weird?
Throwing
go
out
ahead, JJ.
balls. We're talking about like, hey, if you get a ball back,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
throw it
Fine.
by yourself, or like, hey, shit, I got stuff in my cleats. Like trying to by yourself, but they're like, hey, so the MLB said don't take advantage of the system. They'll be watching it. And it's like, all right, well, by nature, you're going to try to take advantage. Anyhow, I knew Nick would resonate as well, being that he was a pitcher, Mace. You got a long inning, man. You're out of gas. You just need a break. There's no.
Well, I mean, you just
Yeah.
there's only so many times you can just get back on the bump and just go. Get back on the bump and just go. And you know, the hitters are gonna, they're gonna, get something in their eye, and you're gonna get over there and you're gonna be like, okay. Like sometimes you need to take a beat. And you just need to take a walk back to the, halfway to second and just kind of get your kind of WTF out of your head, and just kind of clear your mind for a second. And there will be creative ways to get around that kind of thing. But
What happens if you go over that 20 seconds? Is it a ball?
Correct.
Automatic ball.
Yeah.
Oh, screw that. What
So
if there's like a little scuff on the ball? Can you keep getting a new ball over and over again?
Yeah.
what about
Oh,
this?
okay.
How can we
So
effectively use this as a mind game here? How about like if you're ahead in the count a little bit and you just want to stand there and just wait, just like I'm just gonna take the time, give you the ball, because I think you need it. I think you need it, honestly. So give you a chance, because I'm about to bring something that's gonna probably hurt your back a little.
We played this guy last year. That was just the biggest pain in the ass clock manipulator I've ever seen. He would just wait until the batter called time for the first time in the at bat, because that's all you get now is you get one time per AB. And after you burn that first one, he would just sit there set until about 1 or 2 seconds left and deliver the pitch. So that hitter's sitting there in the box, alert for anywhere between 10 to 12 seconds.
Ooh.
And it was annoying baseball to watch, but it worked. And that just made it even more annoying. Yeah.
It would definitely drive me nuts. I'd be ready to kill him. Like,
That's hilarious.
I just think when I get in the box, if 4 seconds felt like 2 minutes. Like you're just
dude,
like,
I've been done playing so long that we didn't even have this conversation. I never sat there and was like, I wonder how long I've had this baseball. I never was like, I mean, I was a get it and go guy. Like I wanted to get it and I wanted to go. But I never even back then, I was never like, boy, I'm sure I'm dragging between pitches today. I just didn't ever it never occurred to me. It was never something that we focused on.
Where's the shot clock? Because I know they probably have one in center field, right? For like the umpire to see. Where's the shot clock for you? Is it going to be like basketball, like facing you, where you're then your mind is now not on? Now your mind's not on the batter. You like paying attention to something else.
Yeah, so generally there's one behind home plate. It kind of differs on stadium to stadium on how many they'll have and where exactly they'll be, at least on the minor league side. But there's almost generally always one in center field and always one behind the plate. So both hitter and pitcher have the advantage of seeing it. And then there's sometimes where you're like rattling through signs at second base where you take a look at that clock. You're like, all right, we're just going to have to roll with this because I have 5 seconds left and got to throw.
Did they make like a rubber duck sound if it goes off?
That'd be great.
I wish.
You get 5 squeaks.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the like, you peek up at the clock and you see that you've got 5 seconds. What's the, oh crap, I'm out of time, here it comes, like signal, like, hey, I'm throwing a fastball away. Like I'm going to look at you and my eyes are going to get big and you just need to know what's coming. Like,
it's just as soon as he puts down some, it's just roll with it. We're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
If I don't want a curveball, I'll throw it 50 feet. It's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll swing.
Yeah. There's the option he could swing. Otherwise it's an auto ball.
Mason,
at least give it a fighting chance.
So the whole objective they're trying to achieve is to speed up the game. Did you feel like, because I haven't seen it, did you feel like the games were quicker, or with the shift, was it just all the same?
So Surf came in town, our director of player development for the rest of you. He came in town probably about somewhere midway through the season last year. And we're talking to him about it. And he said that on average for minor league baseball, it sped the game up. I want to say it was like 27 minutes.
Yep.
So it was kind of annoying where you're like, all right, this is really working. And it sucks that it's working because it's such a pain in the ass to deal with. But
Well,
No shifts now. So our batting average is going to go up.
I think you're going to see infielders do a lot of crazy stuff as soon as the pitcher starts to deliver the pitch. I bet a lot of second basemen have a dead sprint over into the 4-hole to try and still cover some sort of ground.
so
like a
as
game
soon
of
as so
kickball.
when's the moment that they can make a move from their position? Because as soon as you make a move to the plate, I mean, as soon as you start your motion. So is there going to
JJ,
be
you might know more than me. I don't know the shift rules to a T like that. They don't.
I don't know.
You're not playing every position while you're pitching. Come on, man.
But you could go into Alvarez mode and you could have like a 13-second like wind up and let everybody run back into position. And you're like, everybody good? Everybody good? Okay, here we go.
The same time, you got to deliver within the 20 seconds. So I believe it's once he starts his motion, you're free. Which, I hadn't even thought about guys going in a dead sprint. At the same time, I'm sure there's gonna be guys caught off guard with their backs are turned sprinting in position.
Dude, these pro hitters are so good, man. If you see 3 guys sprinting to the left side, they're gonna hit one right. Bink, you know.
Man.
What would you prefer, Mason? Would you rather pitch into a shift or would you rather pitch into a standard defense?
So I've had so many conversations with people about this. I feel like every time the shift bails me out, in my head, I'm just like, yeah, that's where they're supposed to be. And then every time it screws me, I'm like, damn it, why is no one there? Like, just play straight up.
Right.
So it's just such
recency bias.
Yeah, it's a ground ball. Someone should be there, right? I don't know.
No, somebody should be there. And I feel like for me, I'm a big believer in, what's the rule where if something can go wrong, Murphy? Yeah, it's that
Murphy's
guy.
Law.
If I leave the left side with one amigo over there, it's not going to go well for me. Every time I do that, they're going to find that hole, that's a giant hole. I'd rather have my guys at least halfway, like maybe play a little. I don't mind double play depth. I don't mind bringing the infield in. I don't mean, mind positioning the defense. I don't have a problem with that at all. But like, some of this stuff is getting outrageous. It doesn't look like baseball. And it's, to Alex's point from a few episodes ago, it's going to make it go back towards, I think, higher batting averages, stuff like that. And, to that point, I don't know that necessarily will, though. What do you think?
I don't know. I think you're going to see an impact probably for left-handed hitters way more than right-handed hitters. It just seems to be where the shift was always made for was lefties, and righties maybe would get. Yeah. I think you're going to see a lot more 4-hole hits, and a lot of the guys in the offseason I worked out with that are left-handed hitters were fired up about the no shift, and the righties just didn't seem to care.
Right.
But
I mean, he's a pitcher. Of course, he wants lower batting averages.
Hit it over the fence. So I don't know.
Nick, one of the things you hit on in positioning is so back 5 years ago, catchers could block the plate. They changed the rule to make it more safe to where if it's a ball hit in the infield, the catchers could still block the plate. This year, they've implemented only if the infield is designated as in, can the catcher block the plate, which is interesting because infield in is kind of relative. You could have a third baseman with a good arm that's even with the bag. So they deem that infield in or not, and whether a catcher, long story short, all these rule changes, spring training is always a blast, but it's the first 2 weeks of spring training is going to be an absolute shit show of calls. There's going to be balls, there's going to be strikes, there's going to be managers arguing with the umpires not sure what to call. It'll be.
What about speaking of umpires and the calls, what about this automated strike zone thing?
Mason can do that one. I got no idea on it.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know as of yet if it's completely automatic balls and strikes, if certain days are going to be specifically full robo zone, or if it's the challenge system. Because we had the challenge system in the fall league, and honestly, it was a blast. It was so much fun. because they would just run it through Hawkeye and you'd see it up on the video board and everyone's just sitting there watching it. And then one dugout gets to lose their shit when the call goes their way. It's so much fun, but I can't imagine it being at a big league level in a playoff game where they're just the balance of the game hangs on this video board. Is it going to clip the zone or not? But
yeah,
we'll see.
Alex mentioned a bit ago that he thought it would be like a buzz from above, like when it comes through, if it's a strike, maybe it's like a right butt cheek for a strike, left butt cheek for a ball kind of thing. I don't know, but that doesn't sound like something that would be.
But I mean, they tried it for like, I don't know if it was this year or last year, or if it was like low A ball. Yeah, last year, right.
Yeah,
where it was in the Florida League. So your umpire would have in his ear and would know whether or not his call was correct or not, basically. But before he made that call, it'd be like, strike. And he would then motion the strike. So like he's there, but the balls and strikes are not being called by him. Like it's being called by the robot, which is letting him know that like, hey, this is great.
The one thing that you would see just a complete shift in if it turns into a fully automated strike zone is there would be quote unquote terrible pitches thrown more consistently that are just unhittable. People would learn how to throw curveballs at the top shelf. People would learn how to throw sinkers that clip the bottom of the zone and end up being unhittable at the hitting zone. Pitching would take a drastic change and it'd be very weird and just kind of foreign. And I think that's one of the biggest things that'll probably hold it back more than anything.
Wow.
Alex,
why aren't they doing that now? Because they're just not normally called strikes because they're such a crazy pitch.
Well, I guess if you look, like, are you talking about because if you look at it like a 3D strike zone?
Yeah,
like a cube instead of a square.
Yeah, so in theory, you could start throwing curveballs that don't
hit the back corner.
That hit because the strike zone goes for the length of the plate. Like
right.
If you take the plate and then just pull it up, as long as it clips any bit of that, it's deemed a strike. So people would learn how to throw that.
You throw stuff that zips in and clips those back corners that can, like you said, it'd be like that. What's that zip that new wiffle ball they're doing? Yeah, it's what it looked like. It's what it'd start being. It'd be like, I clip that back corner, and you'd have guys that are, Greg Maddux, zing, crazy.
Mason's season, so when we do live BPs, we obviously don't have an umpire out there yet until spring training, so it's all off track, man. And every day there's a pitch that you're like, that we have our analytics guy sitting behind, he's like, strike, and everybody turns to like, the fuck, what's that? Like a ball almost hit every day. It's like, what? And these hitters getting screwed. So I'm totally with them. I think you just throw nasty shit and hope it clips. And
so what's so how's spring training been for you? Been about a week now. You guys been up there getting after it? How's it been? Been working hard, getting 2-a-days in, or what have you guys been doing?
I've been out here since January 15th, so a little over a month. We kind of just do like a January off-season program here that kind of lets you come out early, use all the resources to your disposal, and just get ready for spring training. So it's been great, honestly, just being around the staff, being around the trainers, having them at our disposal at this point in the year, really trying to ramp up is huge.
For sure. Do you think you're going to, have they talked to you about where you're going to start out this year? You're going to go back to Akron?
No, I have no idea, honestly. It's kind of the same thing every year, is just show up, try to be in the best form you can, and then let somebody that makes that decision make that decision. Keep your headspace free of all that shit, because it'll just get cluttered if you really concern yourself with it.
So when are you not playing baseball? Like what time during the year do you get off where you're like, I'm drinking beers and watching, I don't know, football maybe?
Oh yeah. It kind of just depends on the year. Like this year, regular season wrapped up, went to the fall league. So I drove home from affiliate baseball September 20th, flew out on September 25th, to come back out here to throw a couple lives to get ready for the fall league. Flew back home November 20th, had a buddy's wedding. That was a great time. And then 2 weeks later, picked the baseball back up again and started getting ready for spring training. So sometimes it's almost nothing and really short. And then sometimes you'll get a month and a half of maybe leaving a baseball alone and not picking it up.
Yeah, but you're only like what, 24? You still got a lot of picking it up and letting it go days left in you.
Dude, I know 24 sounds so young, but if I could go back to just being able to wake up, roll out of bed, and throw a baseball like when I was 20, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, no doubt. I remember those days well. I don't have them anymore, but if I pick up a baseball and chuck it, I'm gonna feel it for a week. I guess it was early on. I guess it was probably pre-COVID. I was out there. We went in the facility one night, just taking a couple of hacks at BP, and I started throwing off the bump with like cowboy boots on, and it didn't turn out well. We had a great time though, but my shoulder hurt for like a week.
I think we were running that night. I think I threw the ball too, and I will say my arm essentially went with the ball.
And I have a question for you, which
What do you got?
Didn't get to ask during it, but since I am a diehard Vols fan,
That's terrible.
Amen.
Whoa. No one said anything to you, California boy over there.
That's right.
But
Started off college baseball season 1 and 2. Good start.
yeah, we can't talk about it. There's a lot of, volunteer activities right now we can't talk about, but no, how was the rival for you when you were there and from, the baseball side of the business? Because obviously we see football, basketball, obviously baseball, but knowing someone who's actually been on that side and, playing against the Vols, what's that like?
So I'll put it this way, is that it's really hard to call yourself a Vanderbilt fan, but it is really easy to wish the University of Tennessee Knoxville to burn to the ground.
MVP.
That's so aggressive.
Yeah, like I had a high school teammate that ended up playing baseball at Tennessee, and I didn't really care for him for 3 years. Like my entire perception of him just switched when I saw him in orange. And now that we're both out of there, we're friends again. But there was a brief time where I told everyone, I was like, yeah, he's just a shitty baseball player. You don't need to worry about him. It's bad blood for me. For me, at least.
Yeah.
Savage, man.
I did not realize it was that savage, but hey, I get it. That's what
I don't know
rivals
if it is
do.
for everybody, but it's just tough being in Tennessee and knowing what Tennessee fans are about, and then they're supposed to be our rival.
Well, knowing that
It's tricky.
the majority of the state is, a volunteer fan. That's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up a Tennessee fan.
I know. Yeah, I'm sure.
Came to
That's
my
one thing.
senses. And
Yeah, give your senses.
Rightfully so.
No, Alex, you don't count.
I know. I just love it.
Well, man, we are so thankful that you decided to take some time out of your day and spend it with us. It was great to meet you. Great to get to know you a little bit better. We'll definitely be keeping up with you this season and watching where you end up, and hopefully catching up with you somewhere along the season, getting out to watch you throw it live.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I had a blast, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, Mason.
sure.
We will
Thanks,
we will
Mace.
talk to you soon. Be well, buddy.
Yep, take it easy. See you.
All right. We will
Peace.
take a quick break, and we will get back to JJ's spring training report. Welcome back to Stashcast. JJ, that was awesome. Thank you for hooking us up with Mason tonight and having him on the show. He was great. It's good to have a local boy, Vanderbilt guy who's doing well for the Guardians, and just a great dude. Really funny off air. Really good dude. Look forward to watching him and wish him all the best. But give me a little bit of an idea for the people who don't know, like, what's going on at spring training in Goodyear? Like, who's there? What are they doing? Do they show up out of shape? Does it, like, well, give me the rundown. Like, what's going on in spring training right now?
So when we think of spring training, originally pre-me industry, you think of like major league when they all come in, they're fat, out of shape, and been doing 12-ounce curls all off season, do 2-a-days. The game has changed much more into the expectation as guys come in game ready. Now, obviously, I'll put game ready in quotation marks. They put them through InBody, which says what their weight is compared to their height, what their body fat is, et cetera, and everybody comes up with individualized plans. Long story short, the guys come in and they start a slow ramp up to March 28th, the day we fly out to open up the season. The slow ramp up to be completely ready. So you'll see the starters come out, throw 2 to 3 innings out of the gate. Then by week 2, they're at 4. Week 3, they're at 5 to 6. The hope is that last week they're at 7 and they're clicking on all cylinders. This year I was excited about a normal spring trainings. We had 2020 got shut down early, 2021 COVID, 2022 still COVID lingered, and I was like, all right, here we go. I finally get normalcy. And then the World Baseball Classic got dropped on us, which will be awesome. The only issue with the reason I say that is spring training starts early because every team has like a good contingency of players on March 5th saying, hey guys, good luck. We're going to go play for our country. So it's exciting because we all, I think, like watching that. The Team DR, if you haven't looked at it, is absolutely stacked. Robinson Cano is going to be a role player. That says enough.
Julio.
The day-to-day, it's typically starts around 7:30. Guys go and get breakfast. We have team meetings. Then we go out into stretch. Everybody goes into individualized work. Most of the time, it's either some form of live BP, which is live hitter on live pitcher, or some sort of scrimmage. We then will have meetings in the afternoons. Guys are typically in by 7, out around 3, and that'll go continually until spring training games start. Spring training games start quick. We only have, today was Monday. Our first game is Saturday, so we have 5 days full squad. So it's a very short clip where we're just practicing and just together before you're like, all right, let's start focusing on games. Who needs to work on what, et cetera. It flies.
Yeah, it's jamming a lot of stuff into a short period of time there. But the guys are resilient. They're used to that. I mean, baseball is what they do. So, Alex, what's up, bud?
Off-season program. So, like, I asked Mason basically the same question. If you're a Major League Baseball player and you're done playing, hopefully sometime in April, if you're really good, or you're lucky enough, maybe early November, do they just take off then the next 2 months, like November, December? Do they get like an off-season program where it's like you should start working out? Like, I imagine if you're an all-star and you've been in the league for numerous years, maybe you do a little less. But if you're gunning for a position, maybe you take a couple weeks off and get back into it. Any idea?
So every team does it a little different. So I'll speak to I'll call it the Guardians way, which is the only way I know. For those people who don't know, we're a very low budget team. Essentially, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, all those teams spend a lot of money. We do not. We're the polar opposite, and we're typically in the bottom 5 of payroll. So our way to spin this is we're going to have complete off-season programs for our players. If that comes with feedback. So if I was a player and I said, hey, I want to take the rest of October and just have me time and then start ramping up November, we're going to work that into. We really try to get the guys early. So Mace was on. He said he was out in January. The reason we get him out in January is we're going to ramp him up to be actually game ready by the time spring training starts on Saturday, knowing that some major league guys aren't going to be there. Shane Bieber's going to be ready to give 3 innings. We need another guy. So what we want to do is set those guys like Mason Hickman up for success. So when he goes in, he's already ready to go 2, 3, 4, whatever innings we need, and hopefully succeed. That way gives him a confidence boost, shows the front office, hey, this guy can throw, he's ready, and hopefully set him up, maybe another level or set him up for success. But
that has to speak, those off-season programs and the way that you guys do it, those little things have to be, a big part of why you guys have such a high ranked developmental program. It's one of the top in Major League Baseball. You guys develop better than most teams do it. I've gotten to know a lot of those guys through you over the years, and they all care. They live it. They all come. I mean, they show up to your baby shower. They show up to these things. They show up for each other on and off the field. It's a really kind of a cool organization. But the off-season program and stuff, that would be the idea kind of, I think, would be, oh yeah, as soon as the last game is, we just kick our feet back and just hang them up until they give us a call at spring training. We just pull up in our Corvette and our bellies hanging out over our belt, like you said, like Major League. And I'm sure that does happen from time to time, but
our hope is that 29 other teams are doing it like that, and we just happen to be
yeah. You guys do it that way. We'll do it the right way.
What about meals? Is there like a HelloFresh sponsor us delivery on the door for these people, or do they just straight hamburger?
Dude, JJ
In and out sponsor us.
Seen it. He knows.
Dude, this place is sick. They have full kitchen on the side of with the apartment. They have this and I can't remember the name of the pro housing, I believe, sponsor us.
Nice.
They built an apartment community that has all of the amenities of what a normal luxury apartment community would have. It's got a kitchen, it's got full security, it's got key card entry for the guys, it's got all of these different security features for the players. It's only for the players, so that there's no outside distractions. There's a lot of good time for them to be together. But you're talking about food. 3 meals a day in both places. They got options. There's all the different proteins, all the supplements, all the different things that they need are everywhere in this place. It is.
What about the off
crazy.
season though? Do they get like stuff delivered to them, or is it just like you should maintain? Are they calorie counting? Do they give a fuck?
So they're within the building. We have a minor league and a major league nutritionist. Like right now, the major league players and staff eat on the major league side. Minor leagues, they each have a nutritionist, scheduled out meal program. It's typically 2 proteins, a starch, or something to that degree. If they come out with us in the off season, they do get fed. Obviously, there's some rationale behind that, and they also come up with programs. So, like if I'm a player and going off for 3 months, or like, hey, here's our recommendations. They have check-ins. The one thing that I'll say I think we set ourselves apart with is Nick hit on. So they'll come over, they eat breakfast and lunch with us. We have plenty of fruit, water, snacks, everything to go if they want to take it. But also for us, they walk across the street to this apartment complex just for the minor league players. They have a pool. They have 2 ping pong tables, 2 pool tables, a player lounge, a card lounge, a game room. They also have a cafeteria, and down there, so it's water, Gatorade, smoothie maker, any sort of fruit you can imagine to make it. So our thought is, obviously there's external factors. Guys can do whatever they want, but for all the controllables, we want to control as much as possible to make you want to succeed. So if there's a desire,
no girls allowed.
Correct,
no girls allowed.
Yeah. If you want a girl, you got to rent a hotel room. That's a fact.
That was okay. So that was one of the questions I was going to ask Kristen. Does anybody bring their wife with them into spring training? And do they have like an apartment? Do they get different type of? Do they get the housing on their own if they want to bring their family?
So married guys, if they give us a heads up, we'll put them in a hotel room and we'll just take care of it. Just because they're married, the one-offs, the guys kind of get caught in the crossfire. So there's just a girlfriend. They either have to get an apartment on their own or say, hey, we've got a hotel deal here and you're paying out of pocket for it. That's people get caught in the crossfire, unfortunately.
You going to spring training, or are you staying home?
Well, it depends. I mean, I have a job.
There's some good shopping in Scottsdale.
Well, I'm saying, and if you're in this situation, which would you do? Yeah, you have a job, so I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can work from home, and I'm not a influencer or some type of pointless wannabe type of job that they like to call those now. But I could come because I get to work from home. So I've got I think that's
see, she's looking at it like, yeah, I get to come. Like she's gonna be out doing stuff. Like she's got nothing to do with me. She don't care what I'm doing.
Well, JJ, I think it's crazy though to me. But it makes sense though. Like I like how it is, it's very strict and regimen because you're there to work. I mean, you're there this is what you do for a living. And it can't just turn into some big college frat party, where everyone's bringing revolving door of girls coming in and out, because that completely disrupts your focus and discipline. So you have to have rules in place like that so that you're there for the one and only purpose. And that's to work.
So technically there's no booze in there either. I'm well aware, as we all are. I'm sure that gets in, and I really don't care. But we put those rules in place to, one, obviously create an environment that promotes success. 2 would be just protect the players. Like I don't get too political in here, but anytime, so these guys they share an apartment. There's 2 rooms with a bed in each one. Anybody could go in there and say that they did whatever, and 2 guys are now caught in the crossfire, and you never know what the heads or tails of that is. So long story short, we're trying to protect them and give them the best opportunity to succeed in baseball. If they don't succeed in baseball, hopefully they're well prepared to go kick ass in life.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, so my time, for those of you who don't know, I worked for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim for 4 years. And 4 of those years, I spent at least the first week or so of actual spring training in Tempe Diablo, helping out. This is the time where if you attend a Major League Baseball game, all the stuff that you see on the screen of like the in between the innings, all that stuff is done during spring training. It's also where they take their baseball card picture, or it used to be. And this was once again 2004 through like 2009. So it's been a minute.
The whole week of it. You're spot on. It's called production week. We're doing it right now. Every photo, every promo you see, for the most part, I shouldn't say every.
A lot of
what
them
you see is shot right now.
Yeah, and I was there to like help people get like their hat size, and it's like, you know, these guys coming in with like these ridiculously awesome wish I could have hair, and it's like, oh, I don't need like a 7 5/8, I need like 8.5 to like be able. I didn't even know hats went that big, but ridiculously awesome. But I also had the then opportunity, especially very early on, and maybe the times have changed, to go out and hang out with these players on like Mill Ave in Tempe, one of my greatest streets ever, hanging out with those Arizona State very, very nice ladies. It was a shit show. It was a shit show. Like, guys were getting damn hammered all the time. Has it changed since my back in the day?
The Goodyear, but it ain't like that over here.
Yeah, it's not like that in Goodyear. No, sorry, Bob.
It's a retirement community over there in Tempe, man. You're a porn star. You good luck.
Yes.
Yeah, no, not in Goodyear. Goodyear, it's quiet.
But you guys get to go over there and play against those teams because they're in state, so to speak.
Yeah, we bus. I mean,
but you're finishing the game, like, getting on the bus and going back, right? Little different.
Yeah, 1 o'clock game. Yeah. Battle 5 o'clock traffic for the next hour and a half, trying to get back to the retirement community of Goodyear. No chance.
They're very homey.
I definitely have crashed on John Lackey's couch of his room at some point in time, way back in the day.
John Lackey was an animal back in the day, is what I heard.
Oh, beast. And him and Mike Napoli. Oh my God. Talk about a battering ram. Oh. Dude, that guy could drink. But yeah, hanging out with those guys was a different beast. And I was like, how are they even going to get ready for spring training? Granted, once again, I was only there for the first week, and this was quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
Mike Napoli used to steal us. We used to stay in a hotel in Minneapolis, and Mike Napoli would steal the lion. That's like when you walk in a hotel, they always have something that's like the centerpiece. There's a lion, and Nap used to steal it and take it up to his room, and obviously Nap's gonna do what Nap's gonna do. So after he left, that we used to come in town, they would hide this centerpiece of the hotel, that way it wouldn't get taken. So he's left his mark around baseball. Great human, absolute animal.
Yeah, well, that's great. We look forward to hearing how everything adjusts and how everybody's looking out there in Goodyear, Arizona, as spring training continues. Thank you for all the information. Thank you for the inside look to what it's like to be at spring training for the Cleveland Guardians. Thanks to Mason Hickman for joining us for a few minutes. And like we said, again, all the best to him and good luck, sir. We wish you well. We look forward to seeing you crush it. And I'll go ahead and say it for you. Go ahead and get ready for making some travel plans for Mr. Hickman. I think we're gonna get to see him at Progressive sooner rather than later. So, and that's what at least I'm pulling for that. I'm pulling for it for you, buddy. We are going to transition quickly into one of our favorite segments, sponsored by Lawn Value. Experience the best. It's what we do.
Shower Thoughts with JJ.
So when do you decide it's time to replace your underbrim? Kids today have no idea what the grind that dial-up internet is. They're there to cradle my taters, so until they're not cradling my taters, I'm rocking with them. They're holding my tater set. That's when it's time for underwear replacement. Showed a little side boob, put a computer in the family room, and watch that kid grow through adversity.
Vagina stories.
Hey, what's it? Put her out. And I scooted. She woke up to me with my hand in a bag of Cheetos. I was stumbling and bumbling. Two tall boys, you get a shot.
You got to stop pooping your pants.
And I trusted a fart and lost. All right, guys, lock it in. Shower Thoughts this week. I'm thinking about the wild, as I'm out here in spring training and everybody's migrating west to come see these 15 baseball teams battle it out for a few months. I'm thinking about the wild, wild west, and in terms of like, how the fuck did people get out here? So when I think about this, I'm like, I told y'all I'm a chicken farmer from Southern Indiana. So I used to go back in the computer lab and play this game called Oregon Trail. And I don't know if y'all are better than I was, but I never fucking made it past Oklahoma. So I'm like, what could life be like to me? Be like, hey man, I know I got 4 walls around here, but this place fucking sucks. I'm gonna hop on a wagon with the horse, I don't know, a 12-pack and some bread in the back seat and ride out through God knows what. And I don't know how people fucking live. I'm thankful, right? I have a job out here and a home out here for now, but no clue how the fuck people got to that point. Same could be said, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. God bless Columbus, because no fucking chance. They'd be like, hey, man, we're going to hop on this ocean. I swear to you, we're going to come to land. I'd be like, fuck you. I'm staying right here. I'm good. That's what I've been thinking about the shower.
So, JJ, I need to, so if let's say you're in Tennessee with us, right? And what's the sales pitch going to have to be for me to say, hey, you know, that big river that we've never been on the other side of? I think we ought to go that way. Let's find a way to cross that river. And once we cross it, we're just going to keep going till we find a spot that looks good. We're going to settle the West. What's that sales pitch to get you to go?
I'm going to share with the Stash Cast, what you know is that I can't swim for shit. So that sales pitch is got to be mighty hardy. And it's going to be like, hey, I got to have a life raft in the back that you're holding on to for dear life.
It's like 1880. There's no life raft. You're the life raft.
I'm telling you, there's no chance. I'm telling y'all, God bless. I'll see you never, and hope to God you make it. That's what I'm saying. There's no way.
Nick,
I don't see how bad life could be for me to be like, you know what? Could die in this river or this mountain or bobcats or bison or wolf. I don't know. You name it. No fucking way.
Worried about the bobcats, huh?
Nick, the only way that you're getting him to go is if you have him on your back. The whole way.
Yeah.
You'd have to be,
that water gets deep. He'll be
I mean, I died from dysentery 5 times in Oregon Trail. I don't even know what dysentery is.
That's dysentery is like the flu, right?
First of all, if you made it to Oklahoma in that game, that's pretty far.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you start in Oklahoma.
West. Do you? Oh,
I don't know.
It's been a long time.
It has. All I know,
I started
JJ
in Tennessee.
That's true. JJ, like, all he did was hunt. He was like, you shot 12,000 pounds, but you were only able to carry 80 back to your tent. And you're like, I'm already out of bullets. What can I trade? He trades all his stuff just to get more bullets so he can shoot more stuff. And then it's like, you're cold. Well, I just shot all these buffalo.
Can you imagine JJ's face the first time some Indians come over the mountain on their horses? Just like he'd be. JJ says if you see me running, you better run too. JJ would be. It'd be knees and elbows, son. He'd just be high step.
He would duty in his pants. Big time.
Oh, yeah. You'd shit your burlap britches, no doubt.
He said, hey, let's go run Camelback together. And I said, hey, man, I really appreciate the invite. But I said, if you ever see me running, you better fucking grab and run too, because I don't move that quick. If I see some Indians coming down a hill, you bet your ass I'd be huffing. I mean, the other thing I have bone to pick here is this Oregon Trail. Why are you stopping at Oregon? I mean, I'm like, why not San Diego Trail? I'm at least making the fucking beach. I make it to Oregon. I'm like, yep, this is life. I'm good. I'm gonna still have winters, and I don't know.
You don't even know the beaches over there.
Motivated. Yeah, you don't. Know.
You technically don't know. You keep going west, but you don't know what's in the west. You just know it's supposedly better, but you don't really know what it is. Have you been watching 1883? Have you ever watched that?
Yeah, I've watched.
That will tell you a lot.
In every single episode, I'm like, once again, there's no fucking way I would do this. God bless all of our ancestors. Whoever settled the West, God bless you. I'm telling you, there's zero chance I'm getting off my ass to go discover something.
Not the chance for you could go be stinking rich and get all this gold, or you could have, 10 acres for $1. None of that stuff sounds appealing to you.
I'm a 5'8". I'll call it semi-athletic.
All me.
That was tall. That was tall in the 1800s.
There's no chance I live.
JJ would have crossed the first river, found the first 10 acres, and said, I'm good here.
Put up a sign. Done.
JJ's place. Put up a sign. This is as far as I go.
They've been like, hey, you made it 3 miles on the Oregon Trail.
He'd been like, you guys hoof it if you want. This is green. There's water. I'm close to home.
He's going to just crack open a beer.
He'll be able to wave to his homies from across the river. Like, hey, guys.
I mean, I'd be down for that San Diego Trail because, some of the best craft beer in the country in San Diego. So, that would have got me to go.
The last thing, I'm not going to say the last thing, but it's like 5 or 6 on the list as reasons I'm going to San Diego is craft beer. But do like some craft beer from time to time.
Some winners out there.
Yeah. Well, JJ, I think that you've done a good job of settling the West in the 20th century, 21st century, whatever we're in now, and you've done a good job. So congratulations.
I saw a Bobcat on Super Bowl day, and it was not fun. I was sorry, parlay tangent. I'm making brunch Super Bowl day. All right, making brunch. I turn around, threw something, Nick, as you know, I got the island, threw something in the sink, and I look up in the left corner of the window. I saw something. I was like, whatever. Just turn around. Because I'm hungover as shit, as I always am. It's fine. It's par for the course.
Fine.
And as I'm flipping the eggs, I was like,
fine.
What the fuck was that? And I turned back over, and there's this 20-pound bobcat with a fat set of nuts on it. Like, I could see the nuts clear as day. And I was like, oh, shit. And I look down and I only see one dog. And I was screaming, oh, fuck. Because the dog's been in all day. I'm thinking Belle's about to get snatched by a bobcat. And I come huffing out there. Once again, I don't run. And I start banging on the table. I was screaming. And that thing, woof, gone. And I was like, it was as big as Jack. It was 20 pounds. Then Belle comes running down like, what the fuck's going on, Dad? But I was like, holy shit. Yeah.
In your backyard?
Backyard, just chilling on the top. So I did some research. I guess it's mating season. So they get out and about looking for, a little.
Looking for a girlfriend. You'll have that.
That's a big ass
He was looking.
That was a full set of nuts, dude.
He was looking inside
ready.
Your window looking for a girlfriend. He was looking at you, son. He was like, I want that big piece
I can't
of meat
believe we
in
made
there.
eye contact, and I was like, that kind of seems odd. And I just turned around, and then it clicked. I was like, oh, fuck. I think that was. And I turned around. Oh, that is a bobcat looking right at me. I was like, holy.
We made eye contact. It was like,
And then
It's weird to make it's weird to make eye contact with an animal that is thinking at the same time that you're looking at it. It's thinking,
Can I eat that?
take him down? Is that doable? If I
he's like, could I take him down?
First,
He looks a little
yes.
slow. And then you come out running, banging on the table. He was like, yeah, he's a little bit more jacked up on the Mountain Dew than I'm ready to play with right now.
He's had his coffee.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find a girlfriend. Jeez Louise. They're better than that psychopath.
Any dog parent becomes the ultimate Hulk to try to save their pet, though.
Do you remember that lady that pushed the bear off the wall after it was trying to attack her dog? Yeah.
Like, don't get between. That's a member of the fam. Don't get between me and that dog.
We got to catch up on that. Like, cause there's been a lot of people do some freakish stuff in the moment of like adrenaline, right? In the heat of the moment. There's people fight or flight.
Yep.
There's some people do some crazy stuff. That's wild. We'll dig into that maybe another week on a shower thought. But settling the West. The UT Vols did not settle the West out in Arizona. They went out there and
got spanked.
1-2. Number 2 in the country to start. Feeling a little big for their britches, you think? Or was it just the first weekend kind of getting the ball rolling, kind of getting a lot of guys in there? Because I know that Dolander threw forward a couple thirds. Looked good when then they lost it. They lost the game in the latter half of that game. Did you go out to that game? I know Tito and somebody else went out to that game. Did you end up going?
Tito and one of our assistant coaches, Mike Barnett, who lives in Knoxville, big UT guy. He's actually a baseball coach way back. We'll call it back in Nam. He's not a young spry cat. We'll say it that way. Dolander looked good. Had a little trouble locating. That Arizona game was good. GCU. Don't underrate them. They've got a lot of good players, but Tennessee didn't lose their second game till like April 12th last year. They're just, I'm gonna go ahead and call it spade. Sorry, K-Love. They're not as good. They're not.
You're good. You're fair to say that.
And I'm disappointed. And then I'll double down. I've lost a lot of money in the last week and a half on UT basketball. We can get into that a little later, but I was really disappointed in this week. They came out to Arizona and I was expecting to go 2-1, 3-0, and not 1-2 at all.
Yeah, the other teams came and they were able to pull it off and win just fine. And then the Vols, who should, based on their, their standings and all of that, they should, and they're not. So a little early on humbling. Here we go.
Either, which shocks me. So GCU is a good mid-major. Once again, a mid-major. That's a Tuesday or Wednesday team. Arizona's pretty good in the Pac-12, but I don't think they're winning the Pac-12. It's just, here's a little reality for the Tennessee Vols. We'll see how they bounce back the next few weeks. Vanderbilt had a much better weekend. They had an opening loss to TCU, and you're like, oh shit, maybe they're bad too. And they bounced back, shoved it to Texas on Sunday.
Yep.
USC started their season with 3 wins, 8-6, 17-4, 12-2. They were taking on powerhouse Marist, which I had to look up on the internet. Marist College from Poughkeepsie, New York.
Yeah,
so they started out with, obviously very tough competition to start the year.
Nick and I
Kind of
talked
like
about
we
this a lot.
talked. Yeah. Go ahead. This is what we talk about. The Poughkeepsie, New York team, Marist College, could be, for all intents and purposes, the best team in the country. However, I'm just saying they could be.
Don't
Like
shit on all
it could. Like let's say Marist was number 1, right? They've been inside in New York, Poughkeepsie, New York, since November, probably. Like they probably finished out their fall season indoors. All of their winter stuff has been indoors. All of their throwing programs have been indoors. All of their BP has been off a machine. Their live stuff's been in a cage. They've done everything ground ball wise off a turf and indoor facility. This was the first time that they went out and played ball on grass and dirt. This is the first time they got ground balls after. I mean, they probably went out and did some stuff outside, but for the most part, this is the first time they went and played outside. So it's not uncommon for that to happen. That's usually one of the things that the Southern teams take full advantage of, is bringing some teams down. It's usually lately the teams that have something to prove, or they're looking to upgrade their out of conference schedule, and they'll go to these little tournaments or these little invitationals like they did in Phoenix. I know that Middle Tennessee went to one in Florida, started out well. Their little shortstop stud Coker had a good day, went 2 for whatever, had a bomb, won the game, and then big running shit on the next 2 games. So 1 and 2 again. So they started out like Tennessee. But
I think they had the first hit of the D1 year and the first home run though, Mars. I think
same kid. Yeah.
Alex, the thing is, man, I went to school up north in Illinois. You may get out to do something outside, but it's 25 degrees. You're in 5 layers of clothes. The last thing you want to do is do anything outside. So when you get down to, we would go down to play in Mississippi or New Orleans, Louisiana, anywhere down south to play. The first time you see that pop up that goes above the lights, you're like, oh shit, this has been and you're like standing there days, where is it? And half the time you somehow pull it out of your ass, but the other half you don't. So it's a real advantage. And early on the year, it's why Michigan made it to the College World Series and wanted to play Vanderbilt in the championship. Where it's like, oh shit, it's a team from up north. It just they don't get to be outside.
Yeah, that's why you got to go west. Take that Oregon Trail.
It's a tough transition.
Their balls got to thaw out and drop. It's cold up there, Jack.
It's cold, yeah. But and we'll get a little bit. They still, the first couple of weeks of the season, you kind of still trying to figure some things out, trying to get in the groove. Guys are trying to find that. There's a lot of guys. Hitting's an interesting animal. It's kind of streaky, especially not everybody starts out hot. Not everybody gets going at the same time. And some people are, a little bit later to the party, but it's a long season. There's a lot to go. So we look forward to following the ups and downs and how things are going. SEC looks stacked. But so does some other teams that are not in the Power 5 that look like they're going to do something this year. There's, if the first weekend is anything, then there's some teams like Arizona, like Grand Canyon, like TCU that are going to be some players this year. So I look forward to seeing how that shakes up. To go back to what JJ said a minute ago about UT, you're losing your ass on the basketball team, JJ. They get 2 buzzer beaters back to back. Then they come back and they look like a basketball team, and they take it to Alabama. They're physical. They were knocking them off the spot all night long. They were in their business.
Alabama is a legit national championship contender. Keep that in mind. I mean, they're one of like 4 teams. You're like, this is a great bet for national championship. Anyhow, finish it.
And then they go and get beat by 20 at Kentucky.
The only thing that has made me any money on the Vols, and I think this may be my way the rest of the way, is the under. They can't score 40 points a game. It's
that's what he said.
I take it every time.
Baffles me.
That's the thing, is that they've got some guys, and I can't pronounce the one guy's name. There's a couple of guys that they've got that are this mid-range, really athletic. When they roll on a pick and roll, they go to the rim, and they've got the athletic ability to finish. But I'll be honest with you, I had a freaking fit watching this basketball game the other night. This Kentucky game, I'm go to the basket, settling for 3-pointers, selling for this 3-on. Like there is no presence inside to throw the ball to for them to be worried about scoring offensively at all. There's nothing that Plasvich does. There's nothing that the other guy does. There's nothing that the Weekend does. I don't know what his name is. I do. He looks like the Weekend with his hair. They're not a threat. They don't throw it in the post. They don't even throwing it in the post I relate to running the ball in football. You run the ball even if it's not necessarily there all the time, because you have to eventually make them respect it. Eventually those linebackers creep up and then you can go over the top. You have to throw the ball in the post. You have to attack the basket. You have to get to the free throw line, because if you don't, they won't respect it. And then they just suck their defense in. They're just they're just running off your spot, and you're shooting tough contested threes. You're trying to find a shot, and you're running the shot clock down every possession, and you're driving me crazy, because it's really this half-ass basketball that doesn't have any attitude. They don't have an identity. There is nobody that says, I'm going to take control. I'm going to start taking it and forcing the issue. I'm going to take it to the rim until somebody says I can't.
Yeah.
There is nobody that stands up and takes that role for him. I know Ziegler does sometimes. I know that Vescovy does sometimes, but those two guys are looking for their shot. They can't create their own shot except for a jump shot.
Yeah.
They can take the ball to the basket, but they just don't.
And Ziegler does a lot, but he's also I'm sorry, but his size, like he does take it a lot and he gets hacked and whatever else. So he does, but offense is not strong enough to, like, they don't have anyone down, and you can't win a game off of 3-pointers, and that's a lot of times what they do. And yes, you've got guys that are hot, like Vescovy, and he can shoot his balls off, but you can't win games at the end. And then when you have your free throw percentage that was horrid during the Kentucky game, I mean, you can't win games, and you also can't continue to be even a top 5, let alone top 10 team without a true, authentic, and successful offense. I mean,
I will go on the record and say this, and happily eat it if I become wrong, because I hope to a degree I am. Tennessee has, if not the best defense in college basketball, a top 5. It's unbelievable. Rick Barnes has done an incredible job. It's so sound to watch. But as soon as they get to the tournament and draw a team, whether they end up being a 2 or 3 seed that can score 80 points a game, they've signed their ticket to go home, because they just don't score, and it's the most frustrating. Actually, Caleb, I feel for you, because I watch it and it just pisses me off, and I've only got at this point probably $10 valued into it, and I'm so fucking mad, because I'm like, your defense is great. Typically defense leads to offense, and it just doesn't. Defense leads to bad offense, bad shot. All right, here we go again. Let's bail ourselves out the whole fucking game. And then when Kentucky hits a few shots, it's a boat race.
That's what Nick said. He said their defense is incredible. It's so good, but offense, there's nothing there. And he got so mad, he put the helmet on. And when the Tennessee helmet comes on, that orange helmet, he's fired up.
They'll get like a win trip or something and lose in the second round.
Holding opponents' field goal percentage to 35.7%, so 36%. They are number 1 in the country. Number 3 is Alabama at 37%. USC, number 12 at 39%.
Oliver, I don't even need your stats. This is what I'm telling you right here. I watch them and they're so fucking good.
They are good. And USC has that same problem. Like, they just got to have guys that score. And Johnny and I were at the game on Thursday and the game on Saturday here. We played Cal on Thursday, won by like 30 something, which was great. And then we played Stanford, who had just finished knocking off Arizona last week. And we handled business there too. But we handled business because our 2 best players on our team, Boogie Ellis and Drew, both scored. I think Boogie had a career day, 30 something points, and Drew had 20 something. So it's like, when your best players play well, you do well. But when both those guys have a bad day,
right,
not
you're
so
sunk. Good. That's the issue, is that what good teams, and there's a lot of them this year. There's a lot of good teams. There's not a lot of great teams. But what the good teams do when their best players aren't on fire is they do certain things. They play percentages. They run certain sets. They do certain things that manufacture offense, because you've got to score points. So if my two best players are not shooting the ball well, they're going to be going to the basket. We're going to be throwing it into the post. We're going to be forcing the issue at the rim and trying to get to the free throw line, because I need you to start seeing some buckets go down. I need you to start getting some confidence, because the two things that are going to happen with that, the confidence from making a couple free throws, from getting some balls in the bucket, but also, like I said before, attacking the rim sucks the defense in inevitably, and it opens up those extra passes. The dish across, it opens up the high-low with the post players. It opens up the kick out to the three. It opens a bunch of things up, and that's what the good teams do. Tennessee lately does this dribble around and hope, dribble it around and kick it and have, and we're going to do this screen and that screen. I'm going to this and that. Everybody's trying to get open for a jump shot, and nobody's just saying, you know what, everybody take it to the basket and see what happens. At one point, they took the ball to the basket 2 or 3 straight possessions, and they got all the way to the rim without being touched. I'm like, hey, maybe try that again.
I think what you said is confidence. I think you nailed it as far as having, the confidence and going in, go up strong. You should be, you're, NCAA level, like go up strong and gotta find that confidence.
Well, we got a little bit of an update on
my bad.
Drew Peterson, who I always remember his name because of the documentary on Netflix, but about the guy that what was it, the stairs, something about said his wife fell down the stairwell or whatever. You remember that documentary? The guy killed his wife.
No.
Anyways.
That one.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about basketball, so I got confused.
Yeah, me too. Mm-hmm.
When he said Drew Peterson.
I thought it was maybe
Drew Peterson, not a murderer, didn't kill his wife, not married, drinks a lot of coffee, and man, that guy has a step back like nobody's business. His fadeaway shot is one of the best in NCAA.
Yeah, kid can fill it up. Anyway, so we talked about West Coast basketball. Obviously, SEC basketball, IU, Big Ten basketball is really the only team that we care about in that league. But Big 12 basketball is pretty strong. Outside of Houston, which is in Atlantic 10 now, Big 12 is a league this year. And the way that the tournament's shaking out, I'm kind of wondering who's going to come out of that. How that who they're going to beat up on each other in that tournament, and how's all that's going to shake out into the seeding will be interesting to see. Kansas seems to keep sticking around. Iowa State's in there. You've got Texas. You've got Baylor. You've got who else is in that?
Kansas
in that
State.
league?
Kansas State's ranked.
K-State.
Tech could be a contender.
TCU.
Easy there, Seabiscuit.
The one thing I do want to say before we pass on for the Big Ten, because this is a bone I have to pick, is Zach Edey is still ranked as the number one player most likely to win the Player of the Year award. It's one to be known for 4 straight weeks. Indiana's player Trace Jackson Davis won the Big Ten Player of the Week. It's the only time it's ever been done. So what I'm saying to you is, so for a fucking month straight, Indiana's Trace Jackson Davis was the best player in the Big Ten. Which Zach Edey plays, he's not even winning that, but he's the number one ranked to win the National Player of the Year. It's bullshit. He's not that good. He's just big as fuck. We've said it here. He's not going to be a good guy in the NBA. I'm significantly pissed off about it. Anyhow,
tell me how you really feel. Tell me how you really
feel.
It's
rigged.
Big 12 is really good. Kansas confirmed this weekend against Baylor that they're really, really good. It's like that Kansas, Houston, Alabama skier that you're like, all have a really good shot. There's going to be a few outliers. But pay attention to the Big 12. That is some good basketball.
Yeah, real good basketball in the Big 12.
So who has Houston played? Because they're number one right now.
Are they one now, or are they 2?
I think they're 1.
They won after Alabama, the Alabama loss. Maybe they are.
That
was one of the things I watched.
They are number 1.
That was Here's the thing about Houston.
6-year guys.
Athletic. I'm talking dudes are all over the place, and they're that team that can probably play everybody that they come up against 5-on-5 full court, man up, press them, and just wear them out. They are that athletic. My issue with Houston is, do you get used to playing the teams in your conference and get kind of less? All we kind of have to do is roll the ball out there, and we can just mollywop people, and you get at it because they didn't run. They didn't have to. They had a lot of steal the ball transition baskets. They didn't. and they just out-athleted people in the game that I watched. But they're really, really good. But when they come against a Kansas, or they come against a team that runs a goofy zone, a Syracuse, or they come against a team that runs something wonky or does this or that, what kind of trouble are they going to have? Just from a
They've only played two ranked teams.
Right.
They lost to Alabama relatively early in the season, and then they beat UVA, Virginia.
Pretty good team.
Yeah, good. And that was the time when UVA was ranked number 2. But like the rest of their division, like Tulane's good, they're having a good season. Memphis is good, they're having a good season. But everybody else, Cincinnati, Temple, Wichita State, UCF, SMU, East Carolina, South Florida, Tulsa, not exactly powerhouses here.
It's kind of what I tell Alex
Right,
all the
Caleb.
time. You play nobody.
That's what I'm saying. So like when you go through the SEC, Big 12, Big 10, I'll give the Pac-12. It's a half-ass basketball league. We can get into that after.
I believe we had the
You have to
most
show up
last
and you have to
year in
win
the
every single
tournament.
night. The biggest lock right now is actually Alper looked this up. It would be home teams in the Big 10 because it's been a gauntlet. But you have those close games. Every game is down to, it's probably a 1-possession, 2-possession game with going under a minute. When you get into the tourney, that's going to happen. Everybody's giving their best effort. Those teams haven't had to face that. So like you don't know how to win as much. That's what I'll say. I could be dead ass wrong. I think there's a learned trait of how to win, how to close out games, how to hit free throws, how to, if you're down, how to foul, etc. Break the press.
And Houston's been there. They've shown they can go all the way to the end. So like
twice.
Yeah,
you look at about every other Power 5 conference, and they're having to do that every fucking night.
Yep.
And then Pac-12, Alper, outside of UCLA, USC, and Arizona, that whole thing's a shit show. You have Stanford show up once a blue moon. Utah win at home. Oregon State, I don't think they have a basketball team. They actually do, but it's a fucking brain wreck. Oregon, when they're coin flip, I've lost money there too. Not as bad as Tennessee, but
Oregon's dealt with a ton of injuries this year, which is crazy because they have the nicest facilities in probably the entire country.
I think that did we talk about this at any point? This ought to be a shower thought. What happened? Since when did all this soft tissue stuff start happening? Because I'll tell you this, I played sports since I could walk, and I didn't stretch. There was none of this. I didn't have the facilities. There was no diets. There was no. We did a couple of a couple of these, a couple of high knees, maybe some of that. They called it karaoke. That little fancy footwork. You did a couple of those, and nobody took it serious because everybody it was too early or it was hot. It was, we were still talking about whatever we were talking about before or after class. Like it was never something that we took seriously. Like I would literally to the last day I pitched in my life, I'd run to center field. I'd sit down. I'd reach out, touch my toes. I'd make up some sort of leg stretch. I'd kind of, and then I would run back to the foul line. I'd pick up my glove and I'd start throwing the ball. That was my warm up. And I had never had an arm problem, back problem, leg problem, never tore a hamstring, never nothing. How is it so like it happens so much? You're talking about injuries, these soft tissue injuries. Like we're not talking about broken legs and twisted ankles. We're talking about calves and backs and butts and legs and arms and pecs and abs. And oh, my left side's a little tight, so I've got to shut the whole thing down. Like when did this start happening?
And you're still getting a lot of injuries.
I'm going to give you a hot take on this. Actually, I was talking. We have a strength resource coordinator. I said his name's Lionel. He's way smarter than I am. I said, "What's going on here? Like we have these workloads and all this analytics says this, that, and the other." And I said, "What does that all mean?" And long story short, when we were I'll call it back in the day, and I hate using that term because hopefully it really wasn't that long ago. Although it's getting longer and longer. We did things like suicides, and if you didn't make your time, you ran sprints or you did push-ups, blah, blah, blah. That shit doesn't exist anymore. If you don't make your time, like, fine. So you don't do high-speed running. You had a full practice and had sprints. So what we're going to is like, hey, this is all you need to do because this is what you're expected to do in a game. So when a game intensity ticks up or you play overtime or your body's not built up to manage that, you then have hamstrings, calves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So in their attempt to perfect the workload and to not overstress an athlete based on endurance, what?
Data. It's all data. It's all
so
it's all the numbers.
So in order to perfect this, they're actually inhibiting these players by not giving them the appropriate bandwidth, because the reality is that the intensity does tick up every time.
So Alper, to say it this way, and I'm not trying to give away our secret sauce, is that the major league average for an outfielder is every week he runs 600 yards. So every team has that number, and they're like, okay, how do we get him ready to run 600 yards a week? Some say there's a progression, some say you do this, whatever that may be. They're saying, hey, you only have to run 600 yards a week. What happens when you have a double header because it fucking rained, or because you lose an off day, or you're in the postseason, or it's a really intense moment or a high play? For me, like, we've been like, hey, in a vacuum, this is what it looks like. And it's just not fucking like that. And I don't mean to get too anti-data, Alper. I know you love that. I appreciate what it brings to the table. But yeah, all shit in a vacuum looks really good until reality comes in and you get a dose of that. That's where I'm at with all these small tissue injuries.
Yeah, I would run 30-second poles. I would run after I pitched. I'd had to. And then I would run the next day for like the long run. The next day I was running sprints. I was running on the track before the game. I was running 30-second poles. And I'm not talking couple 2 or 3. We're talking about with a coach, with a stopwatch, like 15 of them.
And what if I told you now all you have to do, hey, at day after pitch, you can need a flush run. Tell me what you feel. But I'm jogging for 15 minutes and call it a fucking day. 15 would be probably giving it 10 minutes.
We were 45 the day after. I would pitch on Saturdays.
You didn't have a coach
Sunday
there,
mornings, I was running
Mars,
around campus.
I said, hey, whatever you pitch, what do you think a flush run is today? As you're 17, 18 years old. I'd be like, I think I'm going to jog to the house and back and call it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you were giving me the option, I wasn't going to do it.
That's where we're at. We're saying like, hey, you need to do some sort of flush run instead of having a mandatory gauge for everybody.
Why not? Why not say, hey, here's how, if you want to be the most productive, like I can go back in time and I can tell you when we went to Vandy, we went to play at Vandy, and before the game, it was a Tuesday and it was the long toss day for David Price. He pitched on Friday. So Tuesday was his long toss day. He's in one corner of the field, long tossing with another pitcher from corner to corner. I'm talking air in.
Oh shit! Did he freeze?
And then has however many years he was actually able to play in the major leagues. Had a pretty long career and didn't have a ton of issues. I mean, he did have some weird stuff because his delivery was so funky, but his arm was strong for a long, long time. And that just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, what's the long toss regimen now? I mean, how often are guys throwing more than something other than off a bump?
The only other thing I will throw out there, and once again, I will say this, but I'm not an analytics guy. I'm a chicken farmer from Southern Indiana. Back in the day, when we grew up, once again, back in the day, you played more than one sports. Kids are getting so specialized early. I wonder if they're just focusing in on one or singular muscle groups, and they're developing that. We played everything: football, basketball, baseball, whatever, soccer, you name it. Hell, just playing touch football, aka tag football, out in the front yard with the kids in the neighborhood. We were out and active. I don't see that happening like that today.
Yeah,
and the studies will show that if you're bringing up your kid to be a whatever professional in one sport, the best thing you can do for that kid is make sure they're playing other sports. One, so they don't get burned out, but two, you're using different muscles, you're using different everything when you start doing these other sports. So if you come up and you're just a great athlete and then you choose, I'm going to be a professional tennis player or whatever it may be, then you can start doing that. But when you're young, play them all.
Yeah, exactly. Amen. This is the dumbest crap in the world. I coached a 9-year-old team years ago. And this was probably 10 years ago that I coached this team. And at that time, these kids are 19 now, and they're in college now. One of them is playing for UT, believe it or not.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. But we're talking about at 9 years old, they're talking about getting ready to, I've got to give up. I'm done with basketball. I'm done with football. I'm playing, but he's going to play baseball. I'm like, he's 9. Here's the thing. Here's what I'll tell you. Nowadays, when they have an athlete, he might be the best in his sport, quarterback, for example, and they're like, stop the press. He's also a point guard on the basketball team. How amazing is this? And he's the quarterback and he plays basketball. I'm like, bro, when I was everybody played everything. I had to run cross country because we didn't get enough cardio at football practice.
Mm-hmm.
My basketball coach told me that I had to run cross country because the meets were on Saturday and in order to play basketball during football season. So I'm football practice all week. Then I'm going to run cross country on Saturdays. And then we're a week late for basketball season because it overlapped. And then we're going basketball season and we're doing baseball workouts. I'm hitting in the cage at 6 a.m. Then we have basketball games at night. Summers were basketball, AAU basketball, flag foot or 7-on-7 football. Baseball was going bananas. It was like,
it should be specialized.
Everybody played everything back then. It wasn't
you have to specialize. Don't to put a 6, 12, 10-year-old and be like, hey, you need to pick a sport. It's asinine. I think that's analytics aside, and I know I got on that tangent. I think that's the root of it is we're trying to say, hey,
and analytics will tell you not to do that. Don't pick a sport. Play a bunch of sports. Right. That's how you get good. But I got a question. Oh, go ahead.
Corbin starts recruiting dudes in 8th grade, bro.
Oh yeah.
It's like he's got a whole thing about what kind of kid he is and how the different things. And he's this character analysis. It starts when they're in middle school, man. So it's like these kids are going, man, if I want Coach Corbin to pay attention to me, I've got to start focusing on baseball right now when I'm 10, 11.
It's like
volleyball
younger and younger.
Volleyball is fifth grade fifth grade is when they start recruiting volleyball at USC, and they'll know like, oh, this girl's tall and she's already playing, especially out here in Southern California.
So when that's ridiculous. Put into everyone's mind between baseball, volleyball, whatever sport it is, and that happens because they keep promoting it, right? So even younger and younger, like they talked about the quarterback who's 14, and they're looking at him, and it's just like, and that's where they're going to gravitate towards whatever they're going to really have the best chance to that young. And also think about it, look across the board, everyone is a bunch of pussosauruses now, like about everything. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's political, whether you can't say anything, you're afraid of hurting everybody's feelings or whatever else. Everyone's just soft in general. So I mean, like NBA, right? All-Star game.
Yeah.
True.
We're gonna talk about the NBA All-Star game next week when Tweeter comes back, because ultimately there's a bunch of things that he wanted to talk about. But yeah, glorified layup line at the NBA All-Star game. Pretty fun stuff. There.
I got a question for each of you before we move on, if that's all right.
Yes, sir. Go for it.
All right. Question for you, Mars. Now that they have all this weight management and healthy stuff and training programs and whatnot, if we go back in that way back machine and you are on that program and you are probably not playing at whatever your playing pitching weight was, you think you would have gone farther if you would have had the tools, the workouts, the private coaches and all that stuff that they have now? You think you would have been a pro?
Well, here's the thing. First and foremost, if I had somebody that was putting all that stuff together for me, then yes, I would have taken much better care of my body. I would have gotten more out of my body. I left a lot on the table. We can all be honest about that. With, how I took care of my body, how serious I took it, how, and maybe I would have not felt like I had run out of gas by the time I got to the end of my college career. But yeah, I think that I would have had a lot more. I probably would have felt like I had a lot more in the tank and probably would have kept playing, as opposed to being like, okay, I've satisfied this itch, and I've played as long as I need to play. And I honestly, I've never looked back. But yeah, if I'd taken care of my body or had some sort of off season program, yeah, we've, JJ and I have had a lot of talks about how it could have been different if this and that would have happened differently. But ultimately, the way that things happened, I'm really happy the way they turned out, because I had a really, really good career. It was fulfilling. I met a lot of closest friends in the world, and obviously, baseball fraternity is a deep one, and you always have something to talk about with the folks who played ball, and so yeah, I think that I probably could have.
For those of you who don't know Nick Mars, the man is just an athlete. So like He could have been. You are though. You're like
He
one of
is.
those dudes that you're just good at damn everything. And if you would have
Yes.
just focused on like one thing, not that we're saying do one thing, but like you could have played baseball. You pick up a golf club, and you're like, oh, I could have been, pro status. Like you are just an athlete. So like we didn't have those resources when you and I were growing up. When it's like, oh, you're a really good athlete, play all of these sports, and then go do this, this, and this, like the kids do now. But
It's-
Yeah, it
same
would have
question
been-
then.
It would have been
Oh,
an
go ahead.
absolutely different animal if all this stuff, if I grew up with all of this around, it would have been an absolutely different animal. Yeah.
Yeah, and you would have had all these NIL deals. It would have been ridiculous. Go ahead, JJ. I got a question for you too, though.
So to answer your question, Nick and I are both blessed to be in the 10% of high school baseball players that got to continue on. And I think we're even more blessed
damn.
that both of us came to it. We're probably the 5% of all college baseball players that are content at the end of the day and be like, hey man, I have a good life. I had a good run. But to ask, would we be better? It's like saying, hey man, if you just went to both scenarios, you went to all your classes and one person walked in with the study guide to the class, and the other person just went off the cuff. Would the study guide be better? I would say 9 times out of 10, yes. And I think that's where we are at this point. Yes, I could have been better. Yes, I did the best what I have, and I have no regrets. Like, had fun. Could I have had less fun and probably exceed a little more? Yeah, but hey, we're in college at the end of the day, man. We have
Sure.
Yeah.
So-
yeah, I think that's an easy answer of yes.
Now, now that these baseball players have all this conditioning, the off season and the meals and everything else, are we going to move away from seeing a CC Sabathia or like a David Wells type body shape? Because now it's just like, you're not going to be big anymore, or like, is that changing where now everyone, because they've been working out since they were damn 9 years old, where it's just going to be different moving forward and everyone's just going to be ridiculous?
Nick, you want to take this one first? Or me to go?
Yeah, I think you should take it first because
I think all sports league maybe could have put a caveat on football fat shame. I'm not afraid to call that, make that hot take. Whether it's soccer, baseball, basketball, they all have a model or a look that they're looking for. When a power forward it to be quarterback, everybody wrote off Jalen Hurts because he wasn't over 6 foot.
Yeah.
Dude was just playing the Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield, you name, we go on. There's a model. So yes, I think.
But it's a little different for baseball, right? Because there's so many outliers. You can have a tiny guy play second base, David Eckstein type of deal, or even what's his face, Houston Astros, Altuve, same type of deal. Like,
what do you think?
He got looked over
about
so many times.
Prince Fielder, what do you remember about him?
Huge, just like his dad, though. That was the model.
You're talking about some exceptions, not necessarily the rule. There are going to be some
True.
There are going to be some smaller guys that play bigger than they are. I think that the baseball as a whole has always been trying to get away from the Pablo Sandoval, David Wells. That has always been the exception. If you go back in time and you can think of how many fat guys were good, right? You've got maybe 4 or 5, and I think we just probably named them in the last 30 seconds. So the reality is that was never the model. That was that was an exception and an absolutely raw, natural. And of course, if you've got an athletic enough guy that can get all that weight moving, maybe that's the secret, right? I don't know, but I don't think that CC Sabathia, David Wells, like you said, Prince Fielder, etc. Because Cecil wasn't as big. Cecil wasn't a fat man. He was a big guy.
No,
but he wasn't a fat man.
He's not fat.
Prince Fielder was a fat man.
Huge. Yeah.
And you saw how it was.
How about that one?
Sit and spin, right? Looked like a herbivore dinosaur.
Well, and then David Ortiz, he was.
But David Ortiz, he got his belly got a little bigger there in the last couple of years, but there for a while he was just a massive human. Just what I mean.
Yeah.
But like you look at the big bombers, they all had they were all big shoulders, little waists. Maybe it was maybe they had some help, maybe they didn't. But
I think
neither here nor there.
I feel like baseball is different, and just in the sense like a lot of. I mean, you do see baseball guys, with a different shape. not all
Broad
of them, but like
shoulders.
they're like, yeah, they're not fat, but they're just like bigger. Like
What's the guy from the Mets? Is the DH from the Mets?
Oh, he's out there. Dan Vogelbach, huge human.
Yeah, he's dating Margot Robbie now.
No way.
I don't know. Saw it on the internet. You can believe if it's on the internet, it's definitely
true.
So speaking of the internet, there was a story came out. It's like Sydney Sweeney said if she watched baseball, she would watch Will Brennan. And I come run to the clubhouse. I was like, dude, Sydney Sweeney thinks you're fucking gas. He's like, dude, I missed my opportunity. I saw that story like a day after. It's like, it's not real. He's like, I should have slid in their DMs. But anyhow, I ran in there. I was like, holy shit, what you see on the internet's true. To finish this statement, and Nick and Caleb can both talk about this. I think there's a model, and we're going to promote and sign guys on whatever the team's model is. There's going to be exceptions, and Caleb and Nick can both talked about how big Jose Ramirez, because he may be 5'6" on the best of days. And I know Mars and I've been talking. He comes waddling by him, and Nick was like, "That's Jose Ramirez," and he's literally like pointing. That's Jose. And I was like, "Yeah, that's him, bro. That's that's the MVP finalist every year." It might be lower than that. It's about waist size.
Hey, Duke can he can move it though. That dude can hit the freaking baseball, so it doesn't matter. Big things come in small packages, and amazing things come in big packages sometimes. So it doesn't necessarily always matter how big a guy is.
And I think back on the training piece. So I know you asked, Nick and JJ too. So when I played basketball in high school, I tore both my ACLs. My sophomore year, ACL, MCL, meniscus, and then my junior year, I tore the ACL on the other knee. So, but then there was a girl on my team who did the exact same thing. She tore both of her ACLs too. So to your point, I think when you talk about training regimens and things like that, now we did a lot of suicides, and there have been studies and things that have come out about, suicides especially aren't good for females, and the way that their body shape is. We did a lot of those. So to say, would things have been different if I didn't do a bunch of suicides and had a different type of training regimen? I don't know. Maybe we wouldn't have had those injuries that, another two girls in the same year back to back both experienced together. Like, it was crazy. We were like twins, always walking around with our huge leg braces on. But, you can say that there's, advantages and disadvantages from how it was to maybe some things that have progressed, that maybe my high school now is different coach, different, training regimen and things like that and protocols that they follow. But
from lack of understanding, I know women are more prone to ACL injuries because of they are. What is it? The hip angle? What makes it?
Yeah, it's the hips, and a lot has to do with childbearing and things like that. So our hips, and they're set wider for childbearing purposes and things like that. So some men now might try to say that's not the case, that want to be women, but it is true. I mean, that's just a fact in the way that our bodies are built. So we are more prone to that. Absolutely.
Well, we'll
ACL,
keep
MCL, meniscus. I'd probably just built like my mama, so I think I'm gonna be. Shout out Marla Jones.
Your hips.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate that, Miss Jones. Appreciate that.
Listener.
Well, real quick, I want to wrap up here. Alex, did you get a chance to go out to Riviera this weekend and see any golf, or or were you and Johnny too busy and tired from your daily grind of USC basketball and just probably all the different things, like what's
movie premieres? Who knows?
Yeah. She's got an audition tomorrow for professional golf too, for a commercial. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, fun times. No, we did not go. So I reached out for tickets and had the opportunity to go in on Sunday, but because Tiger was playing well, and this place is in Brentwood, the parking's a disaster. It was just a shit show. And Johnny and I woke up and we're like, all right, we're going to go. And we're like, let's watch it on TV. So we didn't make it down. I had a bunch of friends who did. And
you'll have that
Tiger
on the big jobs, I reckon.
Yeah, Tiger played well. The Riviera course is always incredible. It's super fun, and I worked there for numerous years. But we didn't make it out. We watched it all on TV. But just excited that Tiger was back playing, and he said after playing he's gonna play the majors, and he'll sneak in a couple of other ones hopefully. But That's about it. And the only reason he comes to this one is because the Tiger Woods Foundation hosts it. So he's like, I got to be the host. I got to be able to be there. So obviously good to see him back, and just the people that just crowd around him. And that's the reason we didn't go, is because the Tiger crowd was there.
Well, we did get we got some cool
videos.
We got some close-up videos of Tiger, JT, and Rory from one of your buddies there on Thursday or Friday. So that was cool.
Saturday.
Tiger making the cut was great. Him finishing under par was even better. You know, he was able to get around that golf course, which has its moments, which is, you know, it can be a little bit up and down and a little bit of a grind, but he got through it. He definitely was laboring through it, but he got through it. The swing looks good. It's the walking part, you know, like he said all along, has been the hardest thing. But it was good to see him out there competing and hitting the ball well. And, you know, he left a lot of shots out there, which is, you know, kind of exciting when you start to think about, you know, where he could be if, you know, after this first competitive round in 5 months. So it's interesting, you know, it'll be cool to see if he can keep it going, but it's always just fun to see Tiger. You know, the Tiger effect is always fun. But congratulations to John Rahm, one of our favorites. He got the win at the Genesis. Max Homa and him, that was fun to watch down the stretch. But John Rahm is just a highlight machine that is hard to keep up with. But we will keep watching them, because the golf has been great. And we will continue to look at that. Is there any more tournaments on the West? What's the next stop on the West Coast, Alex? Have you given any thought to that?
Usually after this one, and I haven't looked it up, but usually on this one, they then head down to like San Diego to like Torrey Pines.
I thought they just did the Torrey Pines.
Or did they do that before? I feel like
they haven't been to Torrey Pines yet.
It's like a West Coast swing, as we both Google at the same time.
Right. I'm not Googling. I'm just hoping. The Honda Classic is in Palm Gardens, Florida. So they do start the Florida leg. Honda Classic. Let's see. I got a little schedule here. Honda Classic. Then we got the Arnold Palmer Bay Hill following weekend. Then they go to Puerto Rico before the Players Championship, which is the weekend that Kristen and I will be getting married. So we won't be watching very much of that golf tournament, but we'll see some of it. We might get caught up, but that'll probably be the week that we take off from the show so that we can get through the wedding. And we haven't really landed on dates for the honeymoon yet, but we will we'll keep everybody updated on when we're going to be taking some time off to go do all that and do some traveling. But until then, anybody got anything else for the folks before we say goodbye for the week?
We miss you, Tweeter.
We miss you, Tweeter, for sure, man. Thank you again, Mason Hickman, Cleveland Guardians, Akron Rubber Ducks.
So good.
Hopefully, we'll see where he lands. Obviously, it's each year is a new year, so we'll see where he lands again. All the best. Thanks a lot for joining us, Mason. Until next week, everybody, you can check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Nashville Stash. Go follow us and subscribe on YouTube at Stashcast. Link in the bio of the Instagram. Go follow us there. Support us. Reach out. Give us some ideas for shower thoughts, things you want to talk about. But until then, we appreciate you. Thanks for joining us. We love you big. Stash Cast out.
I've been on some other shit, just lost my fucking brother shit. Now I think it's time to beat myself back to the mothership. J-Rock is my co-pilot, that's the one that I hover with. Love the way we stubborn, like we rule our own government. We come through so thunderous, like everybody else is under us. I might go like I said, everyone they're going.